Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. Thank you for joining us wherever you're joining us from in the world, whether it be sea level, whatever country it is, overseas. But we are at mile high altitude, 5,280 feet, and which is where you want to be in September, and where our guest, Dr. John, I said doctor, our guest, John Dearlove, he's very knowledgeable, so he's almost like a doctor. John Dearlove, Doctor of Marketing and Referrals. John Dearlove was live at Mile High this past year. He's phenomenal on stage and shared vital information. He is the former CEO, believe it or not, of CEO of Mercola.com, and made a huge difference of that also for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and formerly on Darkside Advertising, Big Pharma, and he's done such amazing things to impact more people. Currently President CEO of eNurture Referrals, and provide BC's automated effortless referrals. And you're going to learn even more about how you can get more people on more tables more often. And certainly you want to hit subscribe so you never miss any Mile High tick. And also mark yourself as going for Mile High 12. It's hard to believe it's Mile High 12 next year. Late September 26th weekend. Rise up to milehigh.com as we can get all the details. And actually, you can mark yourself as going at milehighchiro.net. And John, thank you so much for joining us today, John. We were so grateful you were at Mile High this past year. Again, thank you for joining us live.
My pleasure.
And we're very excited to hear what you have to say about growing your practice and getting more referrals. First of all, let's get a little bit dialed in terms of your history, because there's people that don't know you. Many got to meet you at Mile High. However, share a little bit about your history in terms of to bring us up to the present day and how you got dialed into the chiropractic profession, but take us back a little bit on the road to there.
So very quickly, briefly, I had a marketing, advertising, communications, PR firm, all of those things, full integrated marketing for over almost 2 decades on Michigan Avenue in Chicago with 91 major clients. And as you pointed out, I was in the dark side. So I came from the standpoint of those 91, about 12 to 14 of them were tied in somehow to pharmaceutical or to healthcare. So it was Upjohn, which became Pfizer. It was also Abbott, Baxter, Travenol. It was also Hollister Wound Care. There was TAP Pharmaceutical. There's also Cyril, which was NutraSweet at the time, and Rumsfeld. I had the displeasure of working with Donald Rumsfeld, and he was the CEO before he went back to government positions. Anyway, so the point being is that was in the dark side. So in the 90s, I actually merged my firm into a large $6 billion company and ran that for a while, for a short time. And then I got into running a technology company, international technology company with offices in Madrid, Spain, Dublin, Ireland, San Francisco, Atlanta, Georgia, anyway, across the country as well. We had programmers, we had top MIT programmers and developers, all the rest. And then so I was there. I then also worked with Cancer Treatment Centers of America, took it from 32 million a year to 3.5 billion. And then from there, John Mercola found me, and we came together and agreed to work together. I came in working with him as the CEO. He had approximately 200,000 subscribers. That grew to about 5 million, became the highest doctors traffic website in the world. And so my formulas that are pretty consistent that I then leaving Mercola, I put about 4.5 million into developing a program for chiropractors and for doctors. And in doing so, I was the same formulas to actually build relationships. And how I've always grown businesses is it's all based on relationship. Relationship is a primary basis of relationship. I don't care if it's personal or business, is based on communication. If you're not staying,
I got to pause you there just a second. Just pause a second. The growth was how much at Mercola? How many subscribers did it get to?
It went from 200,000 to approximately 5 million.
Wow. So just realize that when he's saying about relationships, he knows what he's talking about. So keep going.
And the same thing with cancer treatment centers in America. They'd almost gone bankrupt prior to this. They'd almost gone bankrupt 3 times during the 90s. And the founder owner was a very good friend of mine. He asked me to come on in the board initially. And so I gave a presentation in St. Moritz, Switzerland. My background's behavioral analytics, by the way. So I gave a presentation that basically they were focused on the wrong audience and putting the wrong effort towards the wrong audience, spending a fortune on advertising. And frankly, individual chiropractors we've already started working with. Like recently, even like there's a fellow chiropractor in the Manhattan area, and that chiropractor is spending $6,000 to $10,000 a month with Google sponsored ads. We usually with our programs are able to help most chiropractors build relationship at an extreme half that amount of money for the whole year, that they spend, monthly. So
wow.
The point thing is to be able to build relationships affordably, and frankly, even Mercola, that was actually organic. That was primarily organic. And what I mean by that is when you put out very valuable and useful and content that people really you can use and value, you build a sticky relationship, and you can build that organically because they forward content. And so that's how we've been building this for chiropractors. And so with that specific doctor, he can't believe he wakes up in the morning and he's got all these new appointments. As he says, he's never had this experience before. He's also, his retention he's got like this immense increase in retention, which most chiropractors also don't have. Most have 80% inactives, and there's a reason. So it's actually a neurological fact, and that is that when you're actually caring for a patient, as you care for a patient, what happens is that, let's say you have 10 to, in maybe New York, 10 to 15 patient visits, and then you go to other areas of the country and you have maybe 32 patient visits. But the fact is that after they feel like they've been healed and they don't come back for a period of 6 months to a year, what's happening is that the brain actually separates, all relationships that tied to pain. So it's pain memory loss syndrome. And pain memory loss syndrome, what happens is the brain actually forgets on purpose. It actually happens neurologically that it forgets everything associated with that pain. So if you ever had a patient come in and you ask them, have you ever seen a chiropractor before? And most chiropractors say, yeah, that's what they do all the time. You may have heard that the patient says yes, and if he asks where, who was it, where was it, they can't remember the doctor's name. It was about a year or 2 years ago across the other side of town about this area. I can't remember exactly. It's not the chiropractor, it's pain memory loss syndrome. If this wasn't true, women wouldn't have a second baby.
I'm going to say again, I'm writing this down. I typed it in. Pain memory loss syndrome. Just yes. People pay attention to this.
Yes. And so what happens again, if this wasn't true, women would not have a second baby because of the amount of pain associated with it. So the brain does this naturally. So what happens is that by staying in communication, that's the problem. But the solution is by staying in communication, keeping relationships going. So life is all about relationships, whether it's your personal relationship with your significant other or your wife or your husband, or whether it's your children, frankly, as well, and or your parents or your loved ones, your brothers, your sisters, your siblings, or it's actually business. It's communication is the core element of having a good relationship. And in this case, staying in communication so they remember you and providing useful, valued information that they can use that is actually health-oriented, not in what we do here at Referrals.com. What we do in this case is what we are producing is content every week that is the same quality of writers, actually the same writers, researchers that I produced with Mercola. And we were putting that out every week in the doctor's name to their patient base. And so that's keeping a relationship going and staying in a relationship, giving them useful information, nothing controversial, nothing on vaccines, nothing that's going to be, it's going to be things that can keep them healthy and well, but at the same time, keep you forefront of their minds. So when they have
now let me think this. Like, there are people, I'm not one of them, but there are people that think that email marketing is dead. I don't think so. I send a lot of emails out, and you're saying you keep a relationship going via email.
Absolutely. So I mean, if you've ever read Mercola, that's how we built Mercola and how it sustains. And so, think of it this way. I mean, yes, he does videos, but frankly, it's females, primarily females. So you have to look at who are your audience. Even if the fellows come in with injuries and problems, the females are usually the ones that are pushing to come in. So for the last several thousand years, men have been hunters and seekers. Females have been the nurturers and gatherers. And when we talk about this, the fact is the female is the one that knows not only everyone in their family who has health issues, or whatever they may be, and and what is needed. Let's just say what they feel is needed to actually help heal them. But it's also the fact that they know everybody in their circle of influence. That's their neighbors, their friends, their loved ones. That's everybody in the school, on the school board or whatever it is. They know everyone has a health issue because they talk to them and they stay connected on health in a massive way. So that's your best referrals come from your own patients, and that's usually active patients because they're the ones that remember you.
Right.
And the second factor is it's women. Okay. So those are where you get your best. If that's not true, I'd love to hear from you, because that's 80%, 70 to 80% of who refers that are the best patients that give you the best patients is that audience.
Right. Absolutely. And so, what are the things, I don't want you to give away your whole secret formula by any means. And however, there was a formula you said relative to Mercola and marketing, and you said it was one email a week. Is that a main part?
Well, so there's many different layers, but the point is that the first primary basis is putting out a communication weekly. The next one is to make sure it's valued and useful for the audience. Otherwise, think about if you've gotten an email from anybody, and let's say it's your car dealer or whatever, if you're getting a newsletter or something, most newsletters today that are called newsletters are marketing. They're actually pushing and telling and selling. And if it was chiropractic, it'd be all about chiropractic. And there's newsletters like that. And there's also car dealers that put out all about that car, about their brand. The fact is when you tell and sell, people get turned off rather rapidly. Most of the broadcast emails have, they actually go from whatever those that sign up and registered, and it gradually reduces over a period of a year. If you're doing it weekly, you're lucky at the end of the year to have 10%, even 2% to 5%. And maybe you have high open rates, but everybody's opted out. And they don't talk about that in most online marketing, by the way. Ours, we have 70% retention. With our doctors, we've had 70% from if they've stayed with us 4 years or 10 years, whether it's in Utah.
70% retention on your email list.
Yes, and that actually is your patient base. That's actually your patient. Because next time they have a health issue, next time they need care, they're going to remember you and contact you. So whether you're doing adjustments or if you're also offering supplements, now you're building relationship and communications. And our programs talk about all types of health issues, not just, matter of fact, in 1 out of 8 or 1 out of 4 at the most, actually, you'd even maybe say it's chiropractic, but when you read them, you'll see that chiropractic is laced in probably 1 out of 4. And that's every week. But, it doesn't say chiropractic almost ever. But you can read it and realize that it's chiropractic, and the name who it's coming from is a chiropractor. We don't have to say we don't have to push it down their throats, right? Because that's what turns them off. That's what people say, oh, you're just trying to sell and tell me. That's what you don't want to do.
Right. Right. So is more than one email a week too much, or is there different scenarios where that's appropriate?
Okay, so Mercola, I believe we were at one every 2 weeks when I got there. I moved it up to one a week, and we moved it up to two a week, and then I kept being told, I won't say too much information about this, but I kept being told that we were going to be, we were pushing too hard. In fact, we had 6 to 12 articles a day. I mean, no doctor can write that, right? So you know that this is not written by just one person. As a matter of fact, I had a whole team of researchers and writers. So that's what you're reading. And so then the next thing is, because so then we were able to actually keep doubling and tripling our audience, because the more we produced, the more people just loved our content. And it truly at that time was not about, we were not focused on vaccines. Okay, that was not our focus, right?
Right.
So this is up to 10 years ago. So anyway, the point being is, it's about making sure that it's relevant and it's valuable and useful to the audience, and that they actually have a takeaway, and that they can do something. And it doesn't mean buying something all the time. In fact, we never had, up to the time that I left, we never had any ads, quote unquote, no product ever at Mercola. So what you see now is totally different than what we did then. So actually there'd be links in the articles if there was supplements that we provided and developed, there was no supplement. Mercola had none of his own products when I got there. I mean, he didn't have any products that it was his own. We were the first to bring krill oil and a large, really introduce it to the United States. Himalayan salt, I mean, all kinds of products that were real basic, but very, very needed and valuable. And so then we just kept growing it and growing it. So yes, but then there was no product ads. It was, you read the article, and then embedded as maybe one paragraph of the article would be a link to the solution, problem solution, and link over if you're going to sell supplements. So, and that's what we do too to this day. And they can sign up if they want a group. We do have groups that they can sign up. Chiropractors can sign up, and they can have designs for health supplements or whatever and they can put their own in. So they can actually put comments into our articles. They can actually add their own articles every week. I mean, they've got all that flexibility for the whole week preparation. It only takes 5 minutes. A lot of doctors actually get to the point where they don't want to do anything, and they trust.
No, really, doctors get to a point where they don't want to do anything.
Actually, this can run automatically, and does for a lot of doctors. Doctors, you and I both know that use our service.
I'm surprised. I'm just so surprised.
but it's such high quality content that it works phenomenal. Yes.
So now with that, all right, let's talk about this, because referrals are important, reactivations are important, retention is important. Yes. All those things are very important for someone to have a successful, impactful chiropractic practice. People think philosophy is important, for sure. That's one of our focuses. The quality of your adjustments are focused, are vital, and to be successful, to see impact your community more, to have more people in receiving your care, you have to have referrals, you have to reactivate people, and you have to retain people. So I guess you got to retain people, and then once you don't retain, you have to reactivate them. To say it right. So the 3 R's that are pretty important. So let's break those down. The referrals, they're saying that keeping in relationships with is a key for one of those R's.
So number one, it's acquisition via referrals means that most of the time, and for most doctors when they start working with us, is that their active patients are the ones that give the most referrals. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
They know them and remember them. The inactives are often 70 to 80% of their database if they've been in practice for 5 years or more. And it's because they're not staying in communication and relationship. And so and that means that they might send out an email once a month, or maybe every 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But in our world, there's so much clutter in communications that if you don't do it once a week, to answer your question, if you don't do it at least once a week, you lose contact.
So
you're not,
at least once a week, if not, you're in trouble.
yes. I mean,
Okay.
it's really, you're at least not really connecting, and your relationship's not what it could be. And that content has to be valuable, useful, and something that they feel like they might want to read or might want to share with others. Remember your audience. 80% of the people here I always say that 80% of your referrals are going to come from females, right? So on the male side, men typically don't like to read that much or write. If it's a doctor, they do it because they do have to do their boards, but it's not their favorite thing to do. So and the 20% of the left, that's the 80%. The 20% of the left are not all gay. I mean, I'm just saying that this is a proven kind of fact, is that
right.
Men are not really as engaged with writing, just like they're not as much nurturers and gatherers. Now,
right.
Females on the other side are the absolute opposite. 80% love to read and write, and they'll actually send out and they'll forward articles, and then that's where you get the most amount of referrals. And they also the ones that know everybody in their circle of influence that actually has health issues. So this is your opportunity to actually get more more patients via the female side. Now that doesn't mean that the males and the females don't read some of their own, they cross over too. But the fact is when I say that, they'll read each other's inboxes sometimes. So when they're married or whatever. So but the females tend to love it. And but that's because we write things. You want to write things in you want to put things in your weekly e-blast to your whole database that actually is compelling, it's useful, that they can utilize, and it's a problem solution, not just talking at them, right? Talking with them.
Vital. Yeah, yes. Absolutely. And hey, anybody listening to this is going to know that I'm guilty of what you're saying not to do. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that needs to improve that. So now how does that help with not only referrals but retention and also reactivation?
So now when we get to, let's go to well, retention wise, it's actually by going out weekly, even if they had come in for, let's say you've actually given care for 32 appointments, and now they're at the point where they don't feel like they need to come back, and maybe the chiropractor even says you're good, and that's part of a lot of the healing programs that a lot of chiropractors are taught at Parker and Palmer and different, Life, and Sherman. And so, and we've spoken, by the way, all those. And I mean, I've been very good friends with Dr. Fabrici and Mancini and, Guy and all the rest. But the point being is that what's really important is to understand that retention is about that staying in communication. Right. And that's going to help you retain. The next thing that you want to do is, I mean, that's okay. That's your database today of your actives. That's your 20% today. Now, what about the 80% inactives? And so what you want to do is, once you start building this program and consider it a relationship communication program. What you want to do next is you want to actually, make sure you're getting it out to your inactives. And your inactives, if you stay in touch and start building, they're going to remember you, and they're going to start, and then they see interesting things. And maybe they don't remember you right away if they haven't been in for 2 or 3 years, but they'll start having trigger points, and it's going to actually they'll start getting that memory back and start valuing you. And now the next thing that's really important is, remember, if most of your referrals are coming from the actives, your 20%, if the larger portion is inactive, if you got 80% actives, and you get 20% of those to actually give you a referral, which is usually about the percentage on the inactives, getting 20% of those to give you a referral over a period of a year. If you can get 20% of those, it's almost equal to your existing active base. So now you can start seeing how all of this starts to come together, right? Makes sense? So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So my background is exponential growth for almost every company we've worked with in my advertising marketing days, because we wrote the business plans, the marketing, we did it all. But then,
Right.
and so now, what we're really doing is identifying ways to actually have that same kind of exponential growth. Cancer treatment centers from 32 million a year to 3.5 billion a year is 3 years. That's exponential growth in 3 years. Mercola had similar results from where he was to where we were.
Now, before we go much further, you have a system for this. I think it's eNurture. What's the name of it? And how do
eNurture
people?
Referrals. Yeah,
eNurture Referrals. Okay.
.com. And actually talking to you and going through this today, there's an enormous amount of chiropractors out there right now, and I know they're struggling. And so if you go there, so here's what I offered this at Mile High, because you had about 600, I think 600 to 700, maybe 1,000 chiropractors there. It was a very fabulous program, by the way. I recommend anybody who's not gone, they need to go. It's phenomenal. I mean,
this particular year was amazing.
It was fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah,
it was fantastic. Anyway, but the point, what I offered there, I will say to you, and you can actually text me. You can send me a personal text. I'll give anyone any chiropractors the same thing I offered there, or any practitioner that you have, and that is a flat rate fee. And this is going to be crazy for the ones that have very large practices. But the point being is, if you have each practice location will provide it at a flat rate for them, instead of 10 cents per email address, per week. We'll actually, which could be thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how many. I mean, most chiropractors have, 500, 600, 800, 1,000. I'd say 90% of 1,000 or more email addresses, especially if you're inactives. You might have 2,000 to 5,000, and you go to 10 cents a piece per email address, and it's a lot of money. So I offered this at Mile High at $3,500 for the whole year, a flat rate, which we're happy to do as well right now. And no matter what, it's a flat rate. Whatever your email address basis is, we'll do that for you. It's 52 weeks, 4 articles a week, and you can add your own comments, and and you can rearrange those sequence, whatever you want to do. You can opt out of any articles you don't like. So it's I mean, honestly, I've been told I'm crazy to be doing this, but what we want to do is really make a difference. So we're building some new utilities, and we want to start providing the greatest value. It's most affordable, that's successful for doctors and chiropractors specifically. I'm an extreme believer in chiropractic because it's the least affected by Big Pharma. And so the care you're providing is exactly where I'm aligned, more than almost anywhere else. Okay. So because of that, I really want to see us putting together an integrated program, as I call it, like when I did integrated marketing, integrated healing care. I want to do a healing care where you, the chiropractor, becomes the center point. And actually working with Stan Pierce, same kind of concept. He's looking at expanding his program. I don't know how much you know about Epic, but we're working together to be a center point, even with MDs. If they buy and use this unit, which has got absolutely, it's been in Harvard Medical Journal, it's totally proven. If they buy that unit, they have to have a chiropractor using it. They can't be a orthopedic. I mean, it doesn't matter. They have to use a chiropractor, period. And so we are with the same belief. We've got several different groups that we're working with, bringing the newest programs, the newest technologies, the newest services, the newest protocols. Dr. Bradley Rausch on Park Avenue, New York, he has a reputation of doing 120 patient visits a day, and his is neurology. So, and he doesn't tell himself a chiropractor, even though he says he's a chiropractor. It's not a focus on chiropractic, it's a focus on neurology. Guy says the same thing if you've interviewed him. He talks about, this is the future, is neurology, because of the importance of what you're doing. And so it's neurological. So go, and you actually can do it. You can grow your practice exponentially grow it exponentially, and you can actually have a greater perceived value and real value if you present and you position properly. And that's a whole other area that we're working on, by the way, for chiropractors.
Absolutely, absolutely. So wait a second. This is only $200 a month. Is that what you said?
It's for the year. It's $3,500 for the whole year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And this is
so it's nurturing. Think of it this way. You know, you go in and, you know, if we've had initially when we built this, if you go in for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you're like, oh, I'm not seeing much. It's nurturing. Nurturing is a relationship. Relationships aren't based on, you know, one moment in time. It's actually, you keep building on itself, right? And so the results we keep hearing from all the docs who come on board, just can't believe the success they have.
Oh, I was thinking, I was mixing up. So that was that, but then there was a phone video app. I mixed that up.
Okay, the phone video. So that I've worked with Ronnie Howard and his kids, and we've put together a program, and that is a phone. It's actually a phone app that actually, at the end of each practice, each appointment. I mean, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but have you ever, Danny, have you ever had a patient say, I can't believe what you just did for me. I've been suffering for the last several years. I cannot believe. Thank you. This is amazing. You ever had anything like that happen?
Yes, yes.
How often?
Daily. I had a couple times this morning.
Okay, so here's the thing. You take and say, oh, I'm so thrilled to hear that. You say, would you mind sharing that and allowing me to share this with our other patients by letting me videotape what you just said and capture them, record what you just said, so I can share that with our other patients, because so many people need to hear what you just experienced. So we always say like 80% is what you likely will get. We keep hearing it's 100%.
Wow.
And so what happens is the patient says, oh, sure, I'd be thrilled to, I'd be happy to. You hold the phone up right then, and you just ask them to repeat what they just said. It's usually 30 seconds or less. We can show you examples of this, by the way. We have examples that actually go. So what happens is they say it, then you give it to them, and then they watch it, and that's again, so now it's a whole minute maybe, right?
Right.
And they watch it, and now they give you a review, 1 to 5. And if it's 4 to 5, it automatically goes to all your social media. If it goes 1 to 3, it goes to your administrative staff. But this gets posted on your website, it gets posted on your e-magazine, and it gets posted on your social media if it's over 4 to 5. Most are getting 5s because you're talking right to them, right? The next thing is, if the patient doesn't have time right this minute, you can actually send a link and they can do it at home. And so if you're interested in seeing examples of this, I'm happy to send it. Again, they can text me at 224-522-8950. Happy to send all this off if that would help. And so,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we'll put that number and information in the liner notes. Make sure to send me this afterwards so we get people to have that in the thing, so nobody causes any subluxations by car accident.
And so the one thing you might want to be aware of, what you just were talking about, is yes, that we are actually offering monthly at half the price.
Wow.
When I say half the price, we're doing it half the price of monthly. Monthly is, I should have rephrased it. Monthly is $200. It's a $350 setup and training. And then when you train with Isaac and with their team, yeah, I highly recommend you come back, and I personally will help train you because I know how to actually deal with, my background is behavioral analytics, right? And I know how to help you really make this successful for the patient and for yourself. The second thing is what happens is that I've been able to get a price down on an annual fee with him to make it $99, less than 50%, or more than 50% savings. So that's an annual fee, but it's also either way, it's $350 for the training and the setup. I'm waiving our setup and training, by the way, with my program at $3,500. And this on top of it, what happens is the moment you do that review, everything's so automated here. And we've automated it to make it easy so you don't have to hardly do anything. But as soon as the patient clicks and it proves it, it gives you a rating. What
Right.
happens is that's going to go immediately to your social media.
Oh, wow.
Immediately goes to your website. Immediately goes to your
From the
e-magazine.
app.
Yeah, from the app. Now, if you actually send them the link, it will do the same thing.
But that saves steps.
Like your whole life. Yeah.
Right.
Instead of spinning wheels doing all this work, right? I mean, how cool is that?
And that app, what's it called?
This is Sotellus, but you want to come through me to get that reduced fee. So
Right. Well, that's amazing. Well, let's make sure we have that in this so people can get that.
We'll give you the link. Sure.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So, what are there any last things that you want to? As I said, I mixed up nurture referrals and the app for videos. That's outstanding because that makes all the difference in the world for your new patients.
Absolutely, and there's something more that we're building into the new. So, so I'm working with Dr. Bradley Rausch on Park Avenue. We're working with several other major players in chiropractors around the country. And the fact is that we're looking to build a new utility that is, instead of healthcare about, and everybody thinks of healthcare now as sick care, it's not what chiropractors are doing. Their care is really healing care. And so what we're naming this new program that we're building on across the country with a referral system and actually rating system, which I'm going to tie the videos in a minute here. That new system is going to be healingcare.com. And what I'm saying to you is this is a replacement for the misnomer of healthcare. And that's where we're heading right now. And we're going to make chiropractors the center. You're the pivot point of this entire program that we're looking at. So now, when you actually use the video and you use the e-magazine, what's going to happen is that you will actually, with the rating system, we're going to build this out so that from whatever patients you see right now, you could probably see 2, 3, 4 patients a day based on what you just said. And actually, you're going to build that. Most of our doctors have 250, 300 reviews, video reviews, which is the most authentic.
Wow.
Written reviews.
300 for video reviews.
Oh, yeah. Think about it. If you do 2 or 3 a day, right? If you do 2 or 3 a day times, do you work about 180, 200 days in a year? Times 3. Right. There you go.
Right.
Right.
Amazing. Amazing.
My point is the video reviews are the most authentic because you can see that they're actually saying it. Right. And so that's versus a written review is many, many times greater value because the patients are seeing it and they're not feeling like they're told and sold. Right.
Right.
And there's nothing like this right now on the internet. There's no other program like this in a rating system. The next thing on the rating system I'm referring to is that we're going to actually start categorizing this so that if somebody goes in, and I didn't get into this, like our e-magazines, it's very similar, is that we'll guide you on the things that are your specialty, your area of focus. And, we've had 70% retention with even personal injury chiropractors where they actually have, after 4 years, still have 70% of their patient base coming back. And
wait, personal injury chiropractors getting their patient base to come back.
Yeah, which is almost unheard of, right? And
no, it's unheard of because mostly those are the people that want to get out of pain and go away. They're one and done.
Yeah, and it's insurance based. And there's a relationship that's being built here, and he was shocked, and he was spending a fortune on doing newsletters initially to build relationship. It was costing him, oh God, I don't even want to tell you, it was almost $100,000 a year. This guy was like on fire trying to build and grow the practice and do a second practice and all the rest. But the point being is, when he heard about this as being, when I said to him, let's do this for you, $3,500 a year, he's like, done. I'm finished. I'm going to get rid of all these expenses. But the point being is for when the rating system, what we're doing for you right now is when whoever comes into the rating system with the videos, you're also going to be grandfathered in and you'll already have all these reviews. So you'll be the ones that on Google that will actually have the highest amount of searches, right? When somebody goes in a search for something, they're going to see your videos. How cool is that?
Excellent.
That's why you want to get in early. Yep.
So just so I know, what's the best way to people to follow up with any of these things we've mentioned?
Best way to actually right now, you can go to enurture.com.
Okay, got that. enurture.com.
However, the things I'm telling you that I offered at Mile High, I'm willing to do, and they can just text me. They can just send me a text, and I'll give them this crazy, flat rates. I'll give them, I'll get them signed up at half the price for Sotellus, for the video reviews, for the get you. We've got doctors that we also cross market. I didn't even tell you about this. We put doctors with realtors in their local area. We cross market at no extra cost. So if a realtor has an e-magazine, the most highest read is health, and you're the contributor of 3 out of their 4 articles, and they have a lifestyle article. They're in your e-magazine, and they have the lifestyle article, and so what happens is you're cross marketing to their database. We've got several more layers that I haven't told you about actually, that nobody else has, by the way, and that cost me $1.5 million to build that, but we do that at no extra cost.
That's excellent.
So we've got a realtor right now in Manhattan who just told me, after I told him his flat rate of $3,500 for the year, he told me he has over 25,000 email addresses.
Wow.
I said, is this your group? He goes, no, this is just mine. I'm like, well, I'm not going to, this is going to cost me more than it's going to cost you by many times. So we will stand by this. This is what we're doing.
And people forget that now relationships are in-person relationships are vital for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And however, the relationships got to continue when you're not in person now. That was different before, but that's now necessity.
And not only that, is when the patient leaves, again, pain memory loss syndrome occurs. So, so when you're done with the care you're providing, and they perceive themselves done, you're not always done. The patient sometimes just doesn't come back for what, they're busy, whatever the circumstances, So anyway, the point being is you want to stay in communication. It's
I appreciate it. And, I want people to stay in communicate. I want people to stay in communication with you. So we'll get their contact information. You can go to enurture.com, right? And
referrals.com or enurture, either one.
enurturereferrals.com to find out more. And we'll follow up with the app. I'm excited about that app because we get positive comments all the time. So, and to have a video feed into is helpful. So I want to thank you for taking the time. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you coming from the dark side to the light side. I'm really excited about that. And that's all special when that happens, and also for helping impact so many hundreds of thousands of lives, if not millions, and on a smaller scale for sharing on the stage at Mile High. It was just phenomenal to have you share and have you there. And so thank you for taking the time to be with us today on the podcast.
Been my honor, Dan. Really.
Yes.
Really. And my last thing is my telephone number is 224.
I got to type it down. Go ahead. 224
522 8950. And
text me. We'll get that.
Text. Don't call, because unless you're in my address book, it doesn't ring. Text, and I will get back to you. I guarantee. Texting is my best form of communication.
Excellent. We'll help you. We'll help you with that. So again, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and thank you for really impacting lives live at Mile High this past year, which is where people want to be in September of next year.
Well, you're the center points. You're the pivotal points as far as I'm concerned of the future of what we need to do in this country. We got to fix this. And I'm speaking with Bobby Kennedy, as you know. I speak with Bobby Kennedy. I've been speaking with him since 2019, at a pediatric conference. I've been doing it quite regularly at doctors' conferences. He's going top down. We're doing an underground movement from the bottom up. Just so you understand, that's where we're at.
It's one of the major problems in this healthcare in this country is obviously healthcare. So in the health of Americans. So thank you so much for doing your part. And thank you everyone for joining us today's episode, and make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss any Mile High Tick. And also make sure you clear your calendar for September. I mean, I got to tell you, being in mile high altitude when the leaves are changing in September, make it a vacation. Don't just come out for the event. Okay. And we look forward to seeing you rise it to milehigh.com in September and keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic.
Love it.